Yeah, 100%. I don't think it's all on Bobo, though. I think we got to take more shots downfield on first down. The way that he's been too predictable at times. Do we need to score 40? Maybe not. I think we can do it with 30. I mean, I really do.
I'm with you. I just want to, if we get in one of those shootouts, I want to be able to generate that type of offense. Welcome back to Big Luke's Dog Beat, sponsored by White and Choate Law Firm. Dog fans, Georgia can be very good this year and still not win a national championship. So today we're breaking down the 5 things that must happen if Kirby Smart and the Dawgs are going to get back to the top of college football. And I've brought in somebody who knows his dogs to help me do it. Lance Blocker is joining us as a new Big Luke Dog Beat insider. Lance is a UGA grad and a meteorologist with a degree in atmospheric sciences and currently works at KSDK in St. Louis. More importantly for today, he's a damn good dog and a Big Luke Dog Beat insider. Lance, welcome to Big Luke's Dog Beat.
Hey, I'm very excited to be here. This is one of the fastest growing channels on Georgia football, and I love weather, but I love Georgia football as well. So, Luke, thanks for having me on here today.
And Lance, we're going to ask a huge question. Are these dogs a national championship team? Let's jump into a little breaking news that may help us explain that. We have the notes from the second scrimmage held Saturday in Athens. The first scrimmage on the 15th saw a lot of good things, but one thing that has caught my attention is a report of a lot of drop balls. We cannot go back to 2024 with Carson Beck and all the drop balls. But all the reports is the dogs on both sides of the ball were very sharp in scrimmage too. Lance, some of the key takeaways include Kyron Jones is emerging as the top choice for safety with KJ Bolden. Ryan Montgomery is seriously pushing Ryan Puglisi at QB2. Chris Cole and Gabe Harris look to be able to take over a game at any time. And Landon Rowland has established himself as one of the top 4 receivers with his 4.4 speed. Chauncey Bowens had a huge explosive 70-yard run to increase our confidence with him and Frazier. And Drew Bobo did start, Lance, with the first team offense, so he's ready. Lance, how do you feel about the scrimmage notes?
I feel great about it. My dog just took my UGA visor off of the table behind me. He was just gnawing at it for the last couple of minutes. So he's about ready to tear that visor up as much as Kirby probably is as we get on into this season. I'm going to grab that from him in just a minute, but all of those notes sound good. I mean, really, Montgomery, you look, everybody loves to talk about quarterbacks, and obviously we're settled there going into this season with Gunner. But the second string quarterback is going to be a big deal. So seeing who battles that out and how that plays out, everybody's excited about Pugs, but Montgomery really does seem to be the real deal there. But a lot of notes right there, a lot of insider information that you just brought to the table. Some interesting, this is the fun time of year. You get to see some guys really begin to cement their place on the squad.
I was very excited to see Drew Bobo out there starting with first team offense because it's hard to get any information on injuries, and so that was a very good sign to see that. Also, Lance, the AP poll came out last Monday. It had Oregon, it had Ohio State, of course, at number 1, Oregon at 2, and the Dogs at 3, with Notre Dame and Texas following. So the Dogs ended up number 3 on both polls, AP and the coaches poll. Couple of keynotes, the Dogs' opponents. We got Ole Miss was ranked number 9, Oklahoma number 10, Bama 13, and Missouri at number 25, which was one of those games we're probably not going to talk a lot about to the end of the season, but could be sneaky. Lance, I was very surprised no SEC team got a first place vote. Any thoughts on the AP poll?
Well, there's been so much excitement about, the fact that the SEC has been upended apparently as the number 1 conference in the country. And so those voters take that into account. There's been a lot of discussion on that. We saw that coming out of SEC media days. A lot of folks talking about how there's been a drought of national championships. And then you also take into account first year that we're having a 9-game SEC season, and it's going to be a tough stretch to get through all of that without major injuries. So, I'm not totally surprised, but Luke, the way Kirby plays this stuff, he's going to be saying halfway through the year, nobody believed in y'all. You didn't get any votes. Nobody said you could do it. And he'll keep that mantra going, I'm sure, all the way through January.
He will, absolutely. And we're going to need it to get through some of these stretches of games. And finally, for all you dog fans, Tip of the hat to Nick Chubb, who is retiring from the NFL after 8 years. Chubb will always be remembered for his 4,769 yards rushing for the Dawgs and 44 touchdowns between 2014 and 2017, making him the number 2 running back in UGA history.
Got Nick Chubb, the freshman, in at tailback. They're going to toss it to him. Chubb running over people. Cuts back inside the 30. Chubb down the sideline. First Georgia touchdown for the freshman.
Lance, I know you were a big fan of Chubb.
But yeah, I mean, just the tandem of him and Sony Michel together out there. There's really not many other set of running backs or really set of players who work together so well. They both brought a totally different approach to the game, still worked very hard. Obviously, both of them, Michel, during his comments about Nick's retirement, talking about how every day I came to practice, I came to outwork you, and I failed. And it was because both of those are such good, hard workers. And then Chubb, of course, having that long storied career in the NFL through those knee injuries, each time coming back and hitting the field the way that he did. I mean, and always surpassing expectations. Time and time again, they said he can't come back from this. And he came back stronger oftentimes. So he is really what a Georgia Bulldog is all about. And I'm excited for him for retirement. I'm going to hate not being able to pick him on my fantasy team, but I'm excited for him. He's definitely put it in. And I mean, he had a great career.
Well, I hope Frazier and Bowens take a look at how Sony Michel and Nick Chubb did it and repeat that type of performance, and we'll be just fine. So if you're a Dog fan, please subscribe. If you like today's content, hit that like button, and we love your comments. I know you'll have a lot of them today from this show. So, Lance, you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right. These are the 5 things that we need to get to. Let's get into the big question. If Georgia is going to be playing for the national championship in January, Big Luke's Dog Beat has got 5 things that have to happen. Lance, tell me where I'm right and wrong when I go through these. Number 1, Bobo has to turn them loose. And this one might light up the comment section here.
Bobo always does.
Mike Bobo gets a lot of feedback. And we know that Kirby does not care about what people think about Mike Bobo.
Do you think Mike Bobo gets picked on? Why do you think Mike Bobo gets said? You think Mike Bobo gives a shit what anybody says? He don't care what they say about him. He ain't worried about it. I'm not worried about it.
So we know Georgia's going to run the football. We know Kirby wants to control the game. But if this team is going to win a national championship, I think this offense has to become more explosive. So, Lance, let me start right here. Does Georgia's offense get too predictable based on down and distance and personnel?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think it's all on Bobo, though. We'll say that, even though, look, I mean, there have been many a times where I retrieved the visor from my dog, but where I've thrown this visor many times when I've seen some of the plays that we've run, especially, first down. I think he's got to stretch the field more. I think we got to take more shots downfield on first down. The way that he's been too predictable at times. There's no doubt about that. But again, last year, there were times with the injury bug that we got hit, especially on the front line, where we had to pull things back a little bit. And I think that's going to be a necessary thing for us to be able to keep everything explosive on offense. We've got to stay injury free, or at least keep them at a minimum there. And you mentioned it right out the gate too, that his son, the fact that he was back out there taking snaps after that little bit of a hand scare early in camp was a big deal, and it will be a huge deal to keep him healthy throughout the season, for the entire offense, really, to be able to open things up and keep things moving. We got to have all of our key playmakers, because with the NIL era, there's not as much depth for anybody. We probably have more than most, but still not like what we had years ago.
Lance, everyone's talking about this receiver room. Are they explosive? Who can create separation? Or does Bobo have to scheme these explosives? What do we expect to see from our receivers?
Yeah, I think he's got to open it up more. I mean, one of the most disappointing things from last season for me was not seeing the ball in Branch's hands almost every play. I mean, that guy was explosive. Anytime he touched the ball, you didn't know where it was going. One of the things that we did so well when we had when we had the run of national championships there was getting the ball into the playmakers' hands. And that's really what we need to do this go around this season. I think we need to get back to that more. Seeing Branch out there last season, not getting as many. I mean, I think he had the most receptions out of any receiver on the field, but I want to see more than that. I mean, you see these explosive offenses, and they're oftentimes led by one or two receivers, and we need to have one or two playmakers that really stand up. So I think this season we've got to get that. That has to be a priority, and it seems like it is based off of some of the coaching, what they've talked about during the pressers.
And Georgia just has so much talent in that tight end room not to be a major part of the passing game. Last year, I want to say they only got a total of 43 targets, somewhere in there. So how do we get these guys more targets, especially some of these freaks we got at tight end?
Yeah, this is a more loaded tight end room than we've had especially compared to last year. I mean, all evidence points to Prothero. He's probably going to be out at slot receiver some, but the tight end room is stacked. There's no doubt about that. I think a big part of it has to do with keeping that offensive line healthy. I go back to it again. Last season, a lot of times Delp had to stay down in order to add in that extra set of hands to give some extra protection for Gunner to get the ball out. And when we start going into second and third string guys, because we've got injuries up top, then it thins out quickly. And I think a lot of that, and Delp coming back for his senior season was a big deal for us. Probably not as big of a deal for him because he really didn't improve his draft stock, but it was huge for us because he was a great blocking tight end. And so one of the things last year, I think that really kept our tight ends from being a bigger role in that offense, even as good as they were and as good as they are, is the fact that we had to use them as blocking tight ends more than receivers. So this year, I'd love to see some 12 personnel out there and get them more active in this offense.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see 12 personnel. And I think as far as the tight ends, you're going to see Elias Williams and Prothero both at that power slot position, which technically would be 13 personnel, but they'll be in the slots. Yeah. So I would not be surprised to see that. Georgia only averaged in the last couple of years 30 to 31 points per game. Everyone is saying we got to get back closer to a 40-point offense. What do you say about that, Lance?
I say our defense has improved a lot. We've got 8 returning starters, and I think last year is necessary. We had our secondary was not fun to watch at times. I mean, it was tough seeing some of the offenses against, especially Ole Miss. And I think now with an improved defense as a whole, I mean, we've got a defense that'll keep most teams down to 17 to 20 points a game. And I'm excited about that. Do we need to score 40? Maybe not like we did last year, but it'd be nice if we did. It would certainly get some extra playing time in for some other guys. But I think we can do it with 30. I mean, I really do. I think this defense is that good. It especially seems improved compared to this time last year. We've seen that in the way Kirby's talking about it.
Very, very high on the defense. I'm with you. I just want to, if we get in one of those shootouts, I want to be able to generate that type of offense. But let me take a moment to shout out to our great sponsor. Big Luke's Dog Beat is proud to be sponsored by White & Choate Law Firm in Cartersville, Georgia. White & Choate is a full-service law firm representing businesses and individuals throughout North Georgia and Metro Atlanta, including personal injury victims and those dealing with work-related accidents. Go see Harry, Jay, and Lottie, all damn good dogs for your legal needs. And remember, maximize your opportunity and minimize your risk. We appreciate White & Choate for supporting Big Luke's Dog Beat, and tell them Big Luke sent you. All right, Lance, let's talk about the second thing that has to happen. And you hit on it a little bit earlier. Build that depth before you need it. I'd love to sit here and tell dog fans we're going to stay healthy all season. We're not. Championship teams survive injuries because the next guy is ready. Lance, I think I know this answer, but where is Georgia one injury away from having a real problem?
Quarterback. Gunner's the guy. I mean, the fact it's not that I don't believe in Montgomery or Puglisi, but Gunner is he's kind of got more of that Stetson Bennett type vibe where the players, just specifically with the players, where they buy into him as much as anybody out there. And so I think that the offense really is helped with Gunner on the field, and I think it resets in a big way if he's off the field. And that is one of my concerning things about going into this season, because Gunner he does not back down from a hit. every time, I mean, I want to say every 3 or 4 games, we've seen him take a hit because he's wanting that extra half yard where everybody's just gasping like, oh no. And then he just gets back up. I mean, it's Dan Jackson from the baseball team was the rhino, but tell you what, Gunnar, he plays like a rhino out there. That guy, he can take a hit. He can deliver one too every once in a while, and he gets up every time. But that's where I think the biggest concern is for me, especially on offense. But not to say that I don't think Pugs or Montgomery can't come in and do a good job, but that's how Gunnar's underrated. There's no doubt. He deserves more of a national conversation. You hear guys like, Saban or Herbstreit, they talk about him, but we tend to forget about him sometimes in these other conversations about elite quarterbacks.
Well, I think you're right. He is very much an elite quarterback, and there is a big drop-off from Puglisi and Montgomery from Gunnar Stockton, but again, they just have not been on the field. I think these first 2 or 3 games, even the Arkansas game, is going to be crucial for them to get some meaningful snaps. And that decision of who's going to be number 2, Lance, is going to be critical because, you're not going to be able to change that depth chart a lot this year. There's not enough time. There's only one off week that you could even do that.
Yeah, once you get in the season, I think the third guy goes, he goes with the 3s, but I also think does he run scout or is it down to the 4th?
It's definitely the 3 or 4 running the scout team.
Yeah, so your reps go down significantly once the season starts. So the next 3 weeks, in particular, in the next month or so, I think you're spot on with that. We've got to get them in. They've got to get on the field. They have to be out there in those environments. I know that we're playing, smaller programs to start out, but it's Sanford Stadium. It's still going to be loud. It's still going to be rocking. They'll have the nerves. They'll have the adrenaline flowing. It's good to get that in then and not, midway through the SEC championship, I guess, like Gunnar had to.
Yeah, and Gunnar was not quite ready, but he had that extra element. He had that ability to scramble. And I want to say you were right. He had the it factor like Stetson, which I never knew. I didn't know until he came in the game that he had that. I heard about him at Raven County.
He doesn't talk. He's so quiet. He's just sitting there all the time. And so, but he plays like he's got it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So that's the number 2, build that depth. Number 3, on the line of scrimmage and stop the run. I think Kirby says it every press conference. And, stopping the run and being able to run the ball, if you can't do that, you won't win in the SEC. And we did great last year, only giving up 81.5 yards per game on the run. I think it cost us some, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but it probably cost us some on the passing side. But Lance, do we have that defense that can stop the run?
Yeah, I think we got it more by committee this year than we've had in the past. Some of our guys having Jordan Hall back healthy will be huge for that defensive front rotation. And then Elijah Griffin. The guy was a 5-star out of high school. He's a 5-star right now. He's going to be a 5-star come NFL draft. He's a stud, and all the reports on him have been great. So I think the defensive front's really shored up a lot this season.
Gabe Harris, everybody's raving about him in camp, and to me, losing him and Bobo in that Sugar Bowl game was the difference. So I love to see Gabe Harris back. On that jack position, the edge linebacker rushing, who do you see there, Lance, that you've been hearing about?
Yeah, Johnson, Quintavious Johnson was the name that's been talked about a lot. The pressure's there. I think he's a guy that can get you. He can get pressure, and he can also cover some yards beyond the line if he needs to. So, and it's a huge position within Kirby's defense. So if he has a good year, it will really help out the entirety of that front 7.
I think Q and Chris Cole are going to wreak a lot of havoc.
Chris Cole too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I hear a lot about Chase Linton.
Yep.
So with that length and that kind of twitch that he brings to the game, I think he can be big. So we're going to stop the run, but the next one is the one last year I think that was our big bugaboo. We got to get off the field on defense, especially third down. Everybody remembers that Alabama game in Athens. We could not get off the field on third down. So what are we going to have to do? How are we going to get pressure? And when that quarterback gives you a chance, I want to get him to the ground. We got to be early. We got to be better on early down pressures. Corners have got to play face-to-face earlier. We've got the corners this year. And safety must find the ball in the deep side of the field. So, Lance, let me ask you, What does Georgia need to do? What do you want to see differently with the Dogs on their pass defense, especially in early down?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big deal is that to have the pass defense on your later downs, you hit third down and long is way different than third and medium, which is way different than third and short, right? So if we can be up front on those first two sets of downs, then I think that's big. And really having a little bit of depth there on that front seven, where we've got some opportunity to rotate guys in and out, keep them fresh throughout the game. It's a huge deal for when we get in those passing down situations. And that's really where I think when you have some improvement, again, we had some injuries last year that really thinned up that front seven pretty quickly at times. Mm-hmm. And so this season staying healthy, I keep going back to it. I mean, it's just so important, especially nowadays, but it's so important to, I think, our entire team's success, which is hard to, it's hard to keep that, right? I mean, nobody goes out there to try to get hurt, but you also got to be wise about how we go about conditioning and how we work it and how we work these games where we're, playing against some of these opponents that Kirby, of course, would say can beat us, but the teams that we know we've got to get other guys on the field for.
And Lance, who's the guy that you want to say that if Georgia needs a sack, needs to create havoc, who is that on the passing down?
I mean, I think Chris Cole. I mean, he's in there. He's a big guy. I mean, he's a top 10 pick overall potential. If we get that elite pressure in there, then having that tandem. And that's really what Georgia won the national championships with, years ago, was always having pressure coming from multiple sides there and the edges. And that translated into the league. So, I mean, I think that's a big deal for us going into this season to make that happen.
In that safety position, we saw a lot of miscues in that safety. Other than KJ Bolden, who do you trust back there, Lance?
Well, the name that's been coming out, I mean, Riddle's been out there some, Tyreek Green's been some, and so it's really, I mean, obviously KJ's elite. I mean, but whoever lines up next to him back there will be huge. I was looking at some of the notes from one of the scrimmages. Who was it that was? There was one of the players in the back there. I forgot who it was that was showing up that I had not expected.
I think Dinkins is good. He's got to be a little bit more disciplined. I hope we see that, but I think he is a developing star. And I wouldn't be shocked by the end of the season to see the kid out of Beaufort, Ty Boogie, back there, that other safety with KJ Bolden. I know he's a corner safety. And I hope the kid from Clemson, Cahill Barnes, I've been hearing a little buzz about him. I hope he's
Kirby was on a few weeks ago telling him this ain't Clemson anymore. That's one of the things Travaris Robinson said too, is just like all these guys are going to play multiple positions. So that might be more of a committee type setup for us here as well.
And then our number 5 thing is special teams can't take a step back. Everybody talks quarterback, receivers, and pass rushers, but championships games get decided by these hidden yards. Number 5, special teams cannot take a step backwards. New punter, Lance, new long snapper, new punt returner, new kickoff returner. All of those changes, which one of you worries you the most?
Long snapper, for sure. I mean, the scope here on Drew Miller has been great. I mean, apparently he's punted balls that are still in the air during fall camp here. And so he's been awesome. Woodring's. I'm not worried about him, of course, but the long snapper position, I mean, it's important. Kirby knows that too. That's now a scholarship position. Didn't used to be, but in the new rules, it is now. And so you've got better talent in there. And those guys go to these camps as well, just like the punters do out in Australia. So it'll be cool to see. I mean, I honestly, I don't know who it is, but knowing Kirby, for whatever reason, our kicking team, our kickers have always turned out, they call us RBU, tight end U. We've been kicker U here at times, when punter U here at times as well. So I'm not really overly worried about that, besides, of course, that long snapper, because you don't want to throw the ball. I mean, you know how that can be chaos immediately if it's not done right.
Who do you want to see back there returning punts and kickoffs?
So the freshman that everybody, of course, is comparing to Lad McConkey, the Ralden kid, apparently he's been fast as lightning back there. So again, maybe he's back there. Sokovy, I've got some notes here talking about how he's done well back there as well. So, but we'll see back there. I mean, I don't want it to be a ones guy. I don't want an injury back there. So, Yeah, so if somebody fast. Maybe it'll be the Landon kid. I mean, they said he's done great in camp, and apparently Kirby was chewing him out this past week. So that's always a good sign, is if Kirby's chewing him out.
So he does. He's got great speed, 4.4 speed, and I think he's making some noise getting in that receiver rotation according to the scrimmage notes. So Landon Roland should be there ready to go. So 5 things. Lance, is there anything we left off?
Well, the only thing that really comes to mind is, and I've said it, I think every single bullet point we've talked about here today is injuries. We've got to keep away from injuries. The injury bug, if we can keep that down, especially to key positions, then it really does a wonder for us once we get in that second half of the season, especially with a 9-game SEC stretch where anybody can beat anybody in this league. And so if we can stay healthy, that's, I think, probably as important as anything else in the top 5 that we've discussed. And then the other side of this too, that I think is not being talked about, although it has some every once in a while, is coaching, which you would think with Kirby, well, we got one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the country. So that shouldn't be an issue. But, and I'm not even talking about play calling here. I'm talking about one of the things that makes Kirby so good is that our practices are so hard that it makes the games easy. But with this schedule this season, it does concern me because we've seen that fatigue set in at times. And we got to coach wise this season. So the second half of the season, these guys are fresh still on some level in there. And I think they're going to be planning on doing that too. There's been some discussion about that. They've talked about what they do in Indiana. I've noticed that. Bobo talked extensively about it at one point the other day. So it'll be interesting to see what changes and what we've done to adjust with that. And Kirby adapts better than most people give him credit for.
Yeah, the Bloody Tuesdays during the 4-5 stretch run in the SEC in the middle of the season, those will be tough. But again, I'm not going to question Kirby on what he does, but I'm like you. We got to stay healthy. The last thing we need is players hurt during practice.
Yeah.
Not if it's the game, that's one thing, but during practice. So, Lance, I've got this Natty Meter that I want you to rate Georgia on. What's their chances? From 1 to 10, 1 means there's no chance. 5 tells you they're a playoff team. 10 tells you they're a national championship team. How do you see the Dogs this year?
Yeah, I'm going with about an 8 right now. I mean, I'd like to go higher, but I'm going to go about an 8. But a big reason for that is because of that defense. I think that defense is going to be much improved, and it wasn't bad last year. I mean, the stats that we had, especially against the run last season, were great. But I think it's even better this season. So I'm going to go with about an 8.
And you say, hey, what has to happen after maybe the first 4 games for you to change your opinion? What do you need to see?
I'd love to see the second and third string guys get in there some. I want to see some. I think we've got to have them in the second half of the season. It's vitally important. And so getting them some time in there, getting them some reps and real game type atmospheres, these first 2 or 3, possibly 3 games. I mean, it's still Arkansas, still SEC, but getting them in there and getting some reps in. We cannot have a game these first 2 games where we're 14-7 going into half. We need to be
absolutely.
up and these guys got to get on the field. And we've seen that at times, it's not often, but we've seen that at times where we're all scratching our heads up there in Sanford Stadium saying, why don't we have 30 on the board already? And so I think it's vitally important that way we get, I mean, for any other position, but also a quarterback. What happens if Gunner goes down? We've got to have some reps in there. So I think that's vitally important.
Well, there you have it, Dog fans. And with that final comment from Lance, I'm changing the list. Number 1 is build depth. Number 2 is turn the offensive loose. Number 3 is on the line of scrimmage. Number 4 is get off the field on defense. And number 5 is the special teams stays elite. So with those 5 things, Lance, as we said, we should be a contender for the national championship. And Lance, I want to thank you for being Big Luke's UGA Insider. I hope you will come back on the show with us. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely.
Should be fun. Dog fans, tell us in the comments, which of these 5 worries you the most and what did we leave off? Hit that subscribe button because kickoff is coming and we're going to be talking Dogs all season long. Lance, thanks for joining us. And as always, go Dogs.
Dogs.
Go Dogs.
There we go. Hey, thanks, Luke. Appreciate it, man. This was awesome. Great episode there.